Blueberry! Blueberry, look at you! You're looking so much better! You're actually sitting in the Zupreme bowl and you're eating Zupreme! I know, Silver, isn't this so exciting? But look at her, you guys. She is alert. She is looking around. When I came in this morning, she was actually sitting up on her favorite snooze perch spot up here so that she was sleeping through the night on a perch instead of on the ground. That is all fantastic. I think she's doing so much better, and I am so thankful for antibiotics. So I'm going to let her eat her Zupreme in peace for just a bit longer, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to flip their felt. I'm going to clean the cage up a little bit and make sure, I haven't messed with it too much, so it's a lot messier than it normally is, and make sure that everything is nice and tidy so that they'll be able to continue to heal up and relax. But Blueberry has bounced back from the edge. I think that definitely the emergency medicine I got had a huge role to play in that, but also I think it was the antibiotics. Antibiotics and keeping everything nice and warm for you, because you have nothing to keep you warm, do you, darling? But yeah, so Blue, I hope, is going to make a full recovery. I'd say she's up to like 90% today. 90%, probably 100, but I'm saying 90 because I tend to like err on the side of being cautious. Oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. That's their Zupreme bowl, so they're eating their Zupreme pellets in there, and those are really good, healthy pellets for them. They have a great mix of different vitamins and minerals. You want to feed them lots of things, but seeds can be a little bit fatty, so I try to offer my birds a big variety in their diet. Oh, and I should try to sprout some seeds for them before we leave. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? And then up here, I know you always get excited. You're fine all the time, Mossy, and then I start recording and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be shown to the world. But Mossy was not even present. He's checking in on Persimmon. I love it when they do that. Isn't it so cute? But he was not even out in the cage this morning when I popped out, which means that he spent the night in the nest box with Persimmon, and he usually only does that when they are seriously roosting on some eggs. And he gets a little lonely when she stays in there all day, I've noticed. So he starts kind of fussing and looking around and making his quiet little, like, where are you call that they do. And I think he's going to be okay because I am hoping that she's sitting tight on eggs. Oh, there he goes. He's popping in to check on her. But I'm hoping he's sitting tight on some eggs, or she is. They both are. They'll take turns. I've seen her out just once or twice, but never when he's not in there. So somebody is staying on the eggs all the time. And by actively roosting, that means Persimmon feels like she's laid all of the eggs that she's going to and wants to keep all of the chicks growing at the same pace, because they'll usually lay an egg, wait a day or two, lay another egg, and they won't sit on the eggs until they're ready for all of the eggs to start incubating at the same time. You want your chicks to hatch more or less on the same day or as soon as possible against each other, because that way you won't have one chick who gets really big and pushes all the other chicks out of the way. Some species specialize in that. Other species like Magoulians try to stagger laying the eggs and then hatching them all at once, which I think is really fascinating. But yes, so that's what's going on with these guys. I'm not going to check them, mostly because I want to be really hands-off this year and just let them go at their own pace. And we'll check them before we leave for our trip next week, but not until then. So who knows? It's a mystery. It's a mystery of what we could have in here. Oh, I love this time of year. So good morning, everyone, and I'm very excited because Blue is doing much better, so I'm really relieved. I really truly feel like the emergency medicine, maybe I didn't need to expedite it like for as much money as I did, but I consider it like the same cost as taking an exotic animal to the vet, having sent out for the medicine and got it back so quick. I am really happy with the Gouldy and Finch website. So like ladygouldyandfinch.com is where I ordered it from, and she had it to me within less than 24 hours, which was fantastic because those were like emergency meds I needed stat. And I think that really helped, and the antibiotics that I had actually forgotten I had that I started adding to her water definitely helped Blue. So she seems to be doing much better. I plan on cleaning their cage today. It really stresses her out. She's one of my most flighty of my finches. Apparently blue Gouldians are kind of like that. So I haven't wanted to mess with her too much because I don't want to agitate her. There's more birds, so I think I got a few little snippets of the birds at the feeder just while I was trying to set up to like tell you guys what's up for the day. But yeah, I think Blue's doing better. I'm really so grateful for antibiotics and that medication right now because I would have been devastated to lose her, and now she's doing really great. Like her recovery time, that's kind of what birds do. They get really sick real fast and they get better real fast. It just kind of goes like that most of the time at least. But yeah, so today I am going to be working on a lot of work in the background. I'm trying so hard. I think I mentioned to you guys yesterday how I have the goal of hitting like 3,500 videos before we leave for the Outer Banks, and I think I had 59 at the start of yesterday, and I think I'm down to 49. So I may have that many. I'm going to have to check how many videos. In fact, I can do that right now. I'm going to take a quick little peek to see how many videos I'm up to. And I'm up to right now, yes, 3,451 videos. So I do need 49 more videos. That's not bad for one day's work. And I'm going to be diving in and doing more work today. And I got really excited because I started researching giraffe barns and trying to understand how they're built and what they look like, because that's what I'm about to record for zoo crafting in just a second here. And oh my goodness, they're really cool. Giraffe barns have to be super specialized because giraffes need to keep a pretty even body temperature from both the head area all the way down through their neck into their torso down to their legs. And oh my gosh, sun, you're so bright, help. But they need to keep a really even body temperature pretty much through the entire giraffe. And there's a lot to a giraffe. It's very long. That's kind of what their specialty is being really tall and long. So you have to keep their temperature pretty regulated. So giraffe barns have to be built to help handle temperature fluctuations really well and to keep the temperature. I mean, in a lot of houses, the up top, like up in the ceiling temperature will be much different from the temperature down in the flooring area. And giraffe barns have to kind of keep that whole area more or less the same temperature, because even if it's warm, you don't want to have a ton of variation going on up there. So that was really cool to learn about. And then there's like several giraffe barns. I think I found pictures of one because I'll just like Google pictures. I'll do all sorts of research for our episodes to try to learn. Oh my goodness, too many cookies. Okay, I'm gonna have to save this picture and share it with you guys on the episode. But this is a giraffe barn that actually has like hanging feeders all over the place, like big kind of almost zipline looking things that go across the ceiling, and then they put hanging feeders and puzzle feeders in for the giraffes. And yeah, I'll have to talk more about that in the episode, so I better save some of it. But I learned how like giraffes spend their day, how zookeepers consider enriching their day, what it means for a giraffe to have enrichment, because giving an animal enrichment that's a giraffe or like a tortoise is going to look very different than enrichment for say an otter or a cat, because those two like later creatures, the predators, are going to interact a lot more actively. They're going to tear into things. They're going to play kind of like a toddler would, like what we expect when we think enrichment. You usually have a picture of little kids playing in your head, and so you think they're going to like dive into it, tear it apart like a little kid at Christmas. And sometimes enrichment, like for a tortoise, is just making sure this one dirt spot is warm because it has good sand for him, so he can sleep like he would in the wild for 20 hours out of his day. Or it's like putting a apple hidden inside of a puzzle feeder in for a giraffe to like work its tongue in for 2 hours before it can get. And that may seem really weird to us because it's like, that's boring. Warm sand, an apple I have to work to eat. But that's what enrichment is for those animals. So I've been doing lots of research on that. Animal enrichment, honestly, is a field. If I could work in my ideal field, well, this is kind of my ideal field, but if I could like work in a different field, it would be researching ways to incorporate animal enrichment for all animals, to make it applicable to like pet animals, to make it approachable so you can take what you have lying around in the house, you can understand your animal's needs better and like take care of them, like the way that hamsters usually need to have like a ton of bedding, like this much bedding that they can dig and burrow in because they really love it. You know, things like that. That's what I would love to do, and to travel the world and to give advice on how to make affordable and entertaining enrichment for animals that can better their entire, like their holistic well-being. That would be what I would love to do. But I'm rambling because I'm super excited this morning. So I'm going to work on giraffe barns and zoo crafting today. And hopefully get a lot more of zoo crafting done too. I need to work in Star Stable for at least a couple hours today and record ahead for next week when we're going to be on the island, which I'm super excited about. But then I'm putting all of the work aside. I'm doing that important thing where you go, this is important. If I have to work into the night, that's okay. But with the nature of my job, I can work whenever I have time, like any time of the day. So I'm going to pick it up and put it aside because today we might be meeting some astronauts. Which is just like out of the left field there. But yes, so I follow a whole bunch of like the North Carolina Environmental Agency Twitters because you never know what kind of interesting information you might get from them. So yeah, if you are really trying to keep in tune with your state and you're curious about what's going on in terms of like events or in terms of like just cool facts, I'm amazed at how much I've learned about North Carolina following like the Environmental Agency Twitter, which sounds really boring, but actually they tweeted out, calm down Elsie, you're okay. They tweeted out that there's going to be 2 space station astronauts. Doug Wheelock and Rex Walheim are going to be appearing at the Natural Science Center, the Museum of Natural Science that I love so much in Raleigh. And they're going to be appearing and talking about their experiences being in the ISS, the International Space Station. And they're going to talk about what it was like to live up there. They're going to talk about the long-term commercial viability of a space station. There's going to be a public viewing called the Driven to Explore exhibit available from 9 to 3. So Chips and I are going to go. We're going to go and we're going to meet some astronauts who have been in space and have been up in the ISS. I have no idea if it's going to be super crowded. I have no idea if 5 people are going to show up and I can just sit there and be like, so what's your favorite animal? You know, I have no idea what's going to happen. I tweeted out like questions to ask, and a lot of the questions were like, what do you do in space when you're bored? Or can you play music in space? I know that's true because there was a Canadian astronaut, I believe he was Canadian at least, who was up on the ISS who played his guitar. I thought that was very clever to take an instrument like that so you can really keep yourself occupied and kind of trigger all of those good things you get from music instruments when you play them in space. So that would be really cool. I wonder if sound is different, like with your guitar. I didn't think about that. See? I have no idea what it'll be like, but we're gonna go meet some astronauts, and hopefully, even if it's a really busy event, we'll be able to enjoy the Natural Science Center. I don't know, like, if we'll really get a chance to go back again after this, because we're gonna be so busy, and then we're gonna get ready to move. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it'll also be summer, and because it's a free science center, there's 100 bazillion children who are extremely loud there most of the, like, non-school year, where when school's out, that place is really hard for me to be in because it's like, even as someone who was a nanny and taught hordes of children, elementary school children, it's a lot of like sensory, like, oh, they're screaming everywhere. It's like no elbow room. So it's good to go on the days when there's no school and there's less crowds of people. So that's not summer. So I have no idea how busy it's going to be, but we'll see. So yeah, we might see some astronauts today, and we might eat at Fiction Kitchen, which is a really delicious vegan restaurant. Don't know if we'll be able to pull that one off, but we'll see. So yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you so much for coming out. And today I just wanted to share with you a little bit about the adventure of space, like what it's like to actually launch and live up on the space station and come back home again.
Okay, that was really cool. So we went over to the North Carolina Natural Science Museum in Raleigh. Very beautiful, probably my favorite natural science museum I have ever been to. And it's so fun because North Carolina includes the coastline, it includes the Piedmont area, it includes mountains. So you have a huge range of like ecosystems in North Carolina. Fun fact, the Venus flytrap that you see all over the place, like sold for pennies in grocery stores, is actually native to a very small area in North Carolina. It's considered endangered in its native habitat because of habitat loss and climate change. And so North Carolina includes a lot. You've got everything from your sharks and your sea turtles, moving all the way over to your red wolves and your black bears that you're going to find like in the more mountainy areas. And I love going to that science center because they really embrace that. They embrace just how much there is to offer in this state in terms of the ecological diversity. And so we had a really good time. Saw the gigantic snapping turtle. First time in all the times we've gone together that he's actually been out on display. And apparently he is the largest common snapping turtle on record. And he's alive and sitting there looking like a boulder, and all the kids were running by and like, is he alive? Is he real? Like just laying there because that's what a snapping turtle does. But it was really fun to be able to see him. They had a few new exhibits with the gemstones, and they had some really nice stuff with the reefs. So those are new from when we last went, which was only a few months ago. So it's really fun to see how quickly they update things. And then we got to go to the presentation. So we got in there a little bit late because I had gotten sidetracked by looking at the live animals on the other side. There's two museums. They're connected by a bridge that you walk over that has like a street running under it. And there is the old wing and the new wing. So there's two entire buildings that make up this beautiful museum. And we were in the old wing where all the live animals are, more or less. There's a couple fish tanks over here too. But by the time we made it back over, the seats had totally been taken up. We had to try to find like standing room only. And I did end up recording the entire meeting, the entire show, where he got up for about half an hour and talked about what life was like on the International Space Station, and it was really amazing. And one of the things that really hit me when he got up there, and I can't remember his name, but he's Astronaut Rex. Do you have like a word you're supposed to call them? Like, he used to be a colonel in the Air Force is what I think they said. And so he was a colonel, and then he became an astronaut. He's been up into space 3 times, so he's been up into space 3 times. And I was really surprised because when they talk about how long they're in space, he's like, yeah, 11 days is the longest I've been at one time. And 11 days is so short. I'm getting ready to go on a trip to the beach that's going to be like 7 days long, and that feels like kind of long as a vacation, I guess. But when you're in space, it just seems like it's millions of dollars and so much effort to get up there. It's really interesting to hear that, like, you just kind of expect to be there for a week or two. And yet at the same time, it's like, that's a week or two in space. That's really cool. I did not really get a good mental image of how big the rockets were until he showed us, like, in the pictures. He talked about how you have to go into quarantine before you go up into the spaceship because you don't want to take any diseases, any human flus, anything that could make you sick while you're in space. You don't want to bring it with you. So you want to make sure that you're healthy. You're not going to get up there and be in critical need of medical care. And I was really surprised when he was showing like shots from the inside of the shuttles and the inside of the International Space Station because it's so cramped. And one of the things from his speech, and like I said, I'll have the whole speech uploaded. There might be a bit I have to silence because I'm like, no, they're using copyrighted music. I'll get in trouble if I do that. But I'll have the whole speech uploaded primarily because I stood there and recorded the whole thing for my dad, who is a huge fan of space and took us to the like National Aerospace Space Agency, there we go, all the time when we lived in Texas. We went there quite often when I was growing up in Texas because my dad really loves space. So I recorded the whole thing so that I can give him a link and share it with him. And so I'll try to put a link in the video too, so that I'll just put interesting snippets in, and then if you guys want to see the whole thing, including some crying children, just to warn you, because it was very, very busy today, then you can see that there. And he talks about how when you are getting up there and you get inside of the space station, you want to have as much storage as you possibly can use filled up. So it really was like certain corridors was just like wiggle room. You could just kind of like army crawl, which you can do because you're just floating because there's no gravity. So you can just kind of like float your way through the corridor. But it was just packed. It was jam-packed, like a little pack rat's house, full of boxes and containers for like clothing and things. In fact, somebody asked at the end of the Q&A session, what do you do with your laundry? And he joked that we just jettison it into the sun, but basically you don't do laundry because water is such a precious resource. And so what they would do is you just bring clean clothes, like some clothing with you when you go up to the space station, and apparently you bring like some of the stuff back when you leave so that then the people who are still staying there can just kind of keep the dirty stuff moving out and get new clean clothes, but you don't really bathe or use like laundry or do anything like that in space because water is so important and precious. So yeah, I learned a lot from him and it was really fun. It was a really awesome speech, and you could tell he was very comfortable with it, and he was very comfortable with the crowd. He handled the questions from the kids really great. He managed to keep like the atmosphere of the event very patient too, because it was a lot of kids. I had forgotten that it's the end of the school year in this area right now, so there were like hundreds of children who were coming on their like end of the school year trip with their school, and it was a lot of noise. I wasn't able to record nearly as much or see nearly as much as I wanted because I ended up with like a splitting headache from all of the screaming and the running and the yelling. And I used to be one of those teachers in charge of hundreds of students at events like that. And you just once you lose your like awareness of being in it, then all of the noise just crashes into you like a tsunami wave. So this is definitely a day where I was reminded how yesterday I was talking about how like my language that my spirit itself may speak involves a little bit of solitude and greenery. Yeah, the languages I don't speak are definitely being parts of gigantic crowds like that. I am so drained. I came home and fell asleep for 3 hours. I am so tired. I have to do so much more work. I haven't recorded anything but one Zoo Crafting episode today, but I got to meet a real-life astronaut who has been up in space. He's been, like I said, 3 times, and he has been aboard the International Space Station, and it was really fun to hear him have so much pride and the good kind of confidence in his voice about the future of what he hopes space research can do. And I was really surprised to learn that the International Space Station is only like 220 miles above the planet. I can drive that in a day. I have driven that in a day. And so it's only like 220 miles there. And then he was talking about how far away the moon was. And then they talked about how far away Mars is, and that it's about a 9-month trip to Mars. And on the one hand, that's 9 months of just moving through space. And on the other hand, that's only 9 months to get to another planet. So it was really, really, really exciting just to hear the pride in his voice, to learn from them, to see the pictures. And I guess in my head, I always thought astronauts looked kind of like, I don't know, like Navy SEALs or Marines. They looked like somebody who could like break a redwood over their biceps or something like that. But when they talked about the skills they had, like really great skills in engineering and robotics, I mean, it looked like these were people who definitely were trained to be able to do what they could do, and they were definitely physically fit, but they weren't like somebody who looks like they could pick up a grizzly bear with one hand and like swing it over their shoulder the way I thought you would have to be like an astronaut. So it made me really excited because it was like the whole idea was much more approachable, and I hope the kids who were there kind of took that away too, that this is something you could do if you worked hard and you studied hard. And it was really fun because he tried to encourage the kids to think, if you want to go to Mars, the timeline for the astronauts who go to Mars are probably the children of today. And that was really cool too. And personally, I'm fine with not going to space and not being somebody who goes to Mars, because seeing the inside of the space station and the pictures from like the surface of Mars and the lunar surface, seeing all of those things and hearing him talk about them just really made me, and especially he did a really great speech about looking at the thin band of the atmosphere that's over the planet. And he talked about how it was so surreal to look down at some areas like in the Middle East and know that the wars are just tearing everything apart, to look over the planet and know that there's lines that we've drawn. I mean, the really kind of like emotional speech that you would expect somebody who's been in space to say, where you look down and you realize the world from an entirely different angle. And I really liked how he drove home how important it was for like America to focus on putting more money and research into space travel, but also what an international effort it was. And it was really cool because somebody asked, do you think someone will claim Mars? And he said no, because it's going to be just like when we went to the moon. No one, just like Antarctica, has claimed the moon. And Antarctica, people will fuss about you over like which sliver of Antarctica is theirs, to be honest, but technically it's not like owned by any particular country. And I actually didn't know that when the moon was like, we landed on the moon and we continued to like visit that area, that it was specifically said it was for all mankind and not just like one country. And I thought that was really cool. And so he says he feels the same thing will happen for Mars, where he hopes, if nothing else, like it can be almost a unified effort or a unifying effect when we finally get out there. So yeah, it was fun. He had some great speeches, some really funny facts. It was real fun listening to the snippets that he had from being on the International Space Station, and like the robotics researcher who went with them, she was one of the astronauts there, made jokes about like the socks, how she made sure to bring socks this time because her toes get cold, and she's been up there multiple times. And yeah, and apparently there's over 500 people who have been in space so far. And I honestly thought that number was a lot lower, like maybe 130, maybe 200. So it was definitely a very enlightening day for me, even though, like I said, personally, hearing him talk about that, thinking about the lack of atmospheres, thinking about being out there in the universe, it just made me really grateful for the fact that I know I like my feet on the ground. I love the small discoveries. I love the sense of ancient timelessness that the forest gives me. So it was a really amazing day, and I had a fantastic time. But it was also a really great way of just filling my heart going, I really prefer to be on this planet. I like this planet. If I could find somewhere else to study animals and plants on a whole nother planet, I'd probably be game for that. But realistically in my heart, I know that's not going to happen, at least not in my lifetime. And I am so happy with what's here. And I would love to continue to try to educate and learn how to help manage what's already here. So yeah, really great day. Extremely noisy with hundreds of children. I did not manage to record nearly what I wanted to for what possibly could have been my last time there, at least in the foreseeable future. And that's okay, because Chips and I have gone a few times in the past when it was a Wednesday, early in the morning, like 10 a.m. Nobody was there. It was awesome. I highly recommend going in the middle of the week, early in the morning, if you want to go to like zoos or aquariums or like museums, because nobody's there. And it can totally, if you're like me and you're very sensitive to the noise and the sound and the crashing, children smashing into you, and I used to do that like as a job, so you think I'd be used to it, but after a few months away from it, you're like, ooh. But yeah, if you're like me and that really gets to you, I highly recommend going to the Natural Science Museum, hopefully when it's the school year, so you want to go during the school year on a Wednesday in the morning, and then you can enjoy all the butterflies you want. I don't think, we didn't even get to the butterfly room. It was practically like elbow room only in that live animal side of the museum. So we didn't even get to the butterfly room, but we've been before and it was really amazing. But yeah, so there we go, guys. All right, and then the light is starting to leave me because there was a storm and now the sun is setting, and I passed out for hours because it was very noisy there today. So I'm going to get some rest and turn the birds off. You can hear them starting to fuss. But we also picked up my snail mail. So it's snail mail. My Friday tradition is to pick up the snail mail. There's a lot of it this week. So I'm going to try really quickly to open it up in the morning and get that recording up, because I try to make sure Saturday snail mail is always there, even though it won't be there next week because we're going to the beach. So, and I'll have some cool things that have already started arriving to show you guys about preparing for the beach trip. tomorrow, so that'll be really fun. And then finally I need to eat my banana ice cream. This is actually just frozen banana mixed up in the blender with a little bit of almond milk, and it's got coconut powder and some chocolate chips, some all dark chocolate vegan chocolate chips. And Chips was craving something chocolate because he loves chocolate, so he made some and he got me a little cup, and I eat it with my tiny spoon. I love my baby spoon. I love this baby spoon so much. I love eating things with small spoons. Weird, but it's delicious. And I need to get to work. And Chips is playing League, so don't worry about that. But yeah, I'm gonna get to work and we'll see what we can do. And thank you guys so much, because it was really fun to go and know I could share some of this awesome day with you guys. And I hope you guys have enjoyed just getting to learn, hopefully, something new about space and space travel in the United States, because it was a really cool day. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.